We are exploring the complete text and philosophy of Alchempath by PhD Fei K, the Empath's Ultimatum. We're going to take you step by step through the required evolution of the empath in a hyper-normalized world. To really understand this philosophy, picture this. You wake up in the middle of a crowded, painfully brightly lit airport terminal. You're waiting for a flight that everyone absolutely insists is boarding, but there are 0 planes on the runway. People are anxiously checking their screens, dragging these heavy suitcases in endless circles, and just acting like this exhausting loop is totally normal. The air is thick, artificial, and buzzing with this suppressed panic. And then, in a single, sobering moment, the illusion shatters.
In that exact moment of awakening, a sharp realization hits. You realize that the destination they are chasing is a mirage, and the entire itinerary we were taught to blindly follow is fundamentally predatory. Just let the weight of that observation sink in for a second.
So if you've been feeling completely overwhelmed lately, well, this is exactly why. What you're experiencing isn't just personal burnout, it's an existential crossroads. We're living through a massive cultural sieve right now. Think about the relentless flood of hustle culture, that unending chase for material milestones, the demand for constant, trackable productivity. This whole system acts like a giant filter. It is aggressively separating humanity into 2 distinct camps, those with the potential for true, deep perception and the mechanized majority.
Which brings us to a really sobering reality. For the deep feelers out there, the system has just delivered an absolute ultimatum.
Let's look at the core philosophical trap here. Section 2, Consuming the Simulacrum, the Sun Lounger and the Sea.
To grasp exactly how we got stuck in this endless terminal, we need to look back at the philosopher Jean Baudrillard. Decades ago, he warned us about this. He said society would eventually replace reality with simulacra, basically copies that have absolutely no original. We no longer consume real life. Instead, we consume the idea, the sign, and the advertising of life.
Think about pretty much any modern resort town today. The shops are choked to the ceiling with plastic sun loungers, right? And the mechanized majority feels this absolute, unquestionable obligation to buy one. So they drag this plastic prop down to the coastline, sit in it for hours, and remain completely inert. They get caught up in this epidemic of meaningless chatter, endlessly recapping the most banal events of their days, or, just scrolling endlessly on their phones. They are entirely playing the manufactured role of the vacationer.
And here is where the tragedy of the simulacrum really hits home. By acting out this role, they completely ignore the ultimate, raw value of their location, the sea. Seriously, almost nobody is actually in the water. Nobody is swimming out to feel the overwhelming scale of the elements, to merge with nature, to experience the visceral reality of the ocean. They are way too busy consuming the symbol of rest to actually experience it.
And this behavior scales up everywhere. You see the exact same zombified behavior at large open-air pools, too. The water is packed with adults and children shrieking, mechanically splashing around, basically acting out a pre-written commercial for summer fun. But despite having this massive expanse of water right there at their disposal, almost no one thinks to use it for its highest purpose. Nobody thinks to swim a solid kilometer in silence, to enter a state of dynamic meditation, to literally push their body through the water until their perception is washed clean of the world's static. They don't question the script, they just make noise.
If you've ever felt entirely alienated by that exact scene, this next part is for sure going to resonate with you. Section 3, The Crushed Empaths, the Cocoon Phase.
Let's dig into the symptoms here. Because if you are an empath, watching this theater of the absurd is frankly lethal. You don't just see the absurdity, you absorb the heavy, staticky quiet of a world that has totally lost its soul. You are likely exhibiting the heaviest, most agonizing symptoms of this cultural sickness right now. First is the weight of the noise. You are suffocating under thick, greasy layers of meaningless social noise and the culture of the banal. The sheer consumerism of fake objects of desire just leaves you oversaturated, completely apathetic, and drained of all your life force.
But listen, here is the validation so many of us desperately need to hear. To survive the onslaught of this fake reality, your brain locks the doors. You retreat into an internal cocoon. From the outside looking in, the system might mislabel you as a narcissist, maybe a misanthrope, or a dismissive avoidant. But you are not broken. You are simply refusing to participate in a simulation that demands you smile while the world burns. You're holding out for something real. Yet, as comforting as that cocoon might feel, you cannot stay there forever. We've arrived at the core thesis of our explainer. Section 4, The Ultimatum, evolve, or be chewed up. This is the critical, truly unforgiving reality of our era, the empath's ultimatum. You can no longer afford to just be an empath. If you remain a passive emotional sponge, this mechanized consumer machine will simply chew you up and spit you out. There's no more room for procrastination or romanticized melancholy or dragging your feet. It is a now or never crossroad. You are being forced to evolve. So, what exactly is the required action here? Well, the instruction is crystal clear. You can no longer waste your energy trying to process the emotional debris of a zombified society. Instead, you must redirect your intense, high-frequency perception away from the noise and point it directly toward the raw code of reality hiding right behind the manufactured facade. Let's shift gears to the solution and see how we actually pull off this transformation. Section 5. The alchemical work, breaking through to oxygen.
So, what does this evolution actually look like in day-to-day life? It looks like deep, relentless intellectual analysis. It means becoming the Alchempath. It means treating every single habitual event, every plastic sun lounger, every neon advertisement, every mandatory social ritual as a mechanism that can actually be disassembled. You have to look at the code written specifically to harvest human attention and consciously refuse to execute it.
When it comes to deconstructing the matrix and the world demands your participation in its shallow games, you no longer just feel the overwhelm, you analyze the trap. You see the simulacrum for exactly what it is. You become completely unindexable, an absolute mystery to the algorithm. But let's be totally honest about the cost of this evolution. It is a heavy lift. It's not energy efficient at all. It requires immense mental labor. The evolved empath has to think critically, study the fundamental philosophies, and rigorously filter the surrogate from the actual truth.
Which brings us to the final, sweeping challenge. It is exhausting work to uncolonize your own imagination, but actively deconstructing the simulation, it's the only way to actually survive it. This is your ultimatum. Evolve your mind, crack open the sealed shell of your isolation, rise above the suffocating noise of the terminal.
And finally, dive into the deep, quiet waters of reality, where you can breathe pure oxygen. What a breathtaking and genuinely stunning conclusion to such a vital piece of philosophy. We've laid out the map, but the actual work is entirely yours. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Are you going to keep dragging your plastic sun lounger through the terminal? Or are you ready to become unindexable and completely rewrite your reality? Dive deep, stay curious, and keep evolving.